Okay guys, so I was watching Marcellus Wiley's show on YouTube and came across a segment that featured his former FS1 co-worker Skip Bayless, and in that clip, Wiley brought up an old ESPN clip that I recalled watching a few years back. It's actually a clip that I had in my archives from one of my other older videos. Anyways, so to give you some context, this segment had to do with Skip Bayless' history of treating former athletes disrespectfully. Wiley first talked about the Skip Bayless versus Jalen Rose viral clip from a few years back, and then brought up this Cris Carter clip. And I guess this all has to do with a more recent incident involving Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharpe earlier in the year, because it's what led to the latter from leaving Undisputed and joining First Take. This clip features Stephen A. Smith, Cris Carter, Skip Bayless, and Jay Crawford on First Take, and I would say this clip was probably over 10 years old, around the 2010 or 2011 NFL season. In the video, the four speak about Tim Tebow and his faith, talking about how it propelled his status in the league, with Skip Bayless saying that it had given him a competitive edge over others. Now around this time, Skip Bayless was wilding out with these Tim Tebow takes, and ESPN pretty much ran with these segments. I believe during the Tim Tebow era, this was when ESPN First Take ratings were at their highest ever. Tebow's popularity around that time was huge, and coverage surrounding him was unbelievable. Every day, Skip would be campaigning for Tebow, while the rest of the NFL community didn't think he was starting QB material. Anyways, check out this segment because you'll see some noticeable similarities from this video with that from the earlier in the year between Skip and Shannon.
This is a competitive force of nature. I think you both would agree now that there is a shocking transformation with 5-6 minutes to go in the game. When they do unleash, and I'm being serious about this, that's a whole different player than you
This is the
see.
thing, though. You're giving Tebow too much credit as a competitor, though. Like, he's no more a competitor than me or anyone else don't put too much yeast on that.
Inspire the whole football team.
No, you can't. No, you're wrong on that. He's not inspiring the whole football team.
No, you're wrong on that. You're wrong. You're dead wrong on that one.
Well, I've been on the NFL field before. You never have.
I don't care. I know what I'm talking about.
What do you mean you don't care?
Okay. Okay. Did you lift the football team to a lot of wins? I don't know.
Okay, I gotta pause it here for a second. Now Skip Bayless is getting mad disrespectful to CC right here. Cris Carter, for those of you who don't know, was a beast of a wide receiver in the NFL for 16 seasons. This is a man who's arguably the next best receiver after Jerry Rice during his playing days. Currently, he ranks 13th all-time in receiving yards, 6th all-time in receptions, and 4th all-time in receiving TDs. But when he retired, dude was ranked 2nd in 2 of the 3 major receiving categories. So when he was up there talking about football on First Take, his opinion mattered. Cris talked about his experience being on that football field, something to which Skip Bayless could never dream of, but for him to just knock him down and discredit him is just absolutely crazy. Skip also had the audacity to question CeCe's ability to lift his team to wins on the field. Notice the similarities with the level of disrespect he spoke to CeCe to that of Shannon? Like, how could he say something like this? In fact, it actually gets much more disrespectful towards the end of the segment.
Did you inspire?
I lifted my teammates, but I didn't make them make plays. When that defensive lineman or linebacker hit him and he fumbled, so don't get carried away with that.
But a lot of teammates say if they think he's divinely there's the divine force of nature here, then maybe it's happening. Maybe they believe that.
So in the fourth quarter, what do you think Tim Tebow went to his teammates and said?
Okay, they saw him go 18 for 24 for 191 yards. That's what I'm talking about.
Question. I asked you.
Okay, but I'm saying they see him play.
You said he's leading these guys.
He's making plays.
Is he saying anything? Is he saying anything?
He's making plays. No, he doesn't say anything.
So he's just leading silently.
Yeah, but he's totally cool and calm. They see the body language.
So me being on the NFL field and playing and being a starter and a premier player
and worthy of the Hall of Fame, by the way, but
and a Christian and a leader, my experience don't matter.
Okay, but you've dismissed him. You say he can't play in the league.
I didn't say that.
You said he's not a starter in the league.
That's not a starter. There's plenty of other players besides the starter. Okay, that's 6 weeks ago. You need to move on till today.
You need to move on. What does he do every fourth quarter?
You're right.
Game after game after game. They all say it. He's inspired the whole franchise.
So you covering sports all these years don't matter?
I just watch with my eyes. I've been covering it a lot longer than you've been playing it. I can tell you that.
And I give you credit for that.
Okay.
Man, this is getting mad disrespectful. I don't know how CC managed to keep his composure throughout this segment. Skip trying to place more weight on his years of covering the NFL above Chris's playing days is what's wrong with sports media. I mean, seriously, who do you think is actually going to know more about the sport? The guy writing about it or the guy who's on the field week in and week out? And I'm not saying just because you haven't played the sport at a high level that you can't speak on it, but to try and diminish an athlete's experience of that same sport sounds absolutely crazy. And this is a criticism guys like Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless keep on getting from former athletes.
Yeah, but you can't take away his
I give you credit for that.
Okay. Well, I just think I'm right about it. You can't discredit me.
But you don't know.
You don't know.
Neither does he. What have I always told you? Some of the worst judges of personnel are the best players. Michael Jordan's the worst GM in the history.
So now
and we also debate the fact that as reporters, when our objectivity is skewed for whatever reason, that might factor into the equation. So a reporter can't be wrong. So he's a player. He might be subjective because of that. You're a reporter. You may be subjective.
So you tell me there aren't bad reporters that have jobs reporting compared to John Elway with his skill level?
Like, I agree. I've always had a good eye for talent. You can look at my draft record on this show.
So you discredit my ability to be on.
No, I'm just saying you're wrong about this one. Just this one.
I did play
You're not giving him any credit.
I did give him credit.
Okay, but you're saying don't give him so much credit.
So in other words, hold on. So if we don't believe, all right, he played the game. I certainly have never played football.
Into you laughing. You laughed the last time. What happened?
Wait a minute.
You ate it again and again and again.
Let me ask you a question.
How many times were you wrong, Cris Carter? How many times? 7 times.
I know I went to 8 Pro Bowls and played 16 years.
Yeah, and how many rings do you have?
I ain't got none. You got same amount as you.
No, I don't.
Same amount as you.
But have you moved at all on your opinion of Tim Tebow? I know you said that he's not a starter.
I need to see more of him.
Okay, now what Skip said towards the end of this clip was totally foul. Let me give you a little background at this time. Cris Carter at this point in his life hadn't made the Hall of Fame. For some odd reason, the Hall of Fame voters only inducted him in 2013, a year or two after this clip. They made the guy wait 6 years after eligibility, which everyone remembers as being pretty painful for the former wide receiver. I think there are many clips on YouTube where CC talked about getting rejected year after year and at one point even criticized the voters. So with that said, after Cris Carter started laughing at the absurdity of Skip's take, Skip Bayless went off similar to how he did with Shannon. And for him to actually hit CC with a low blow comment like that and discredit him by asking how many rings he had was just uncalled for. In fact, some might say he was more disrespectful here to Cris than to Shannon. You see, the moment you criticize Skip Bayless, he just starts to attack your credentials. The players that he places on a pedestal like Tom Brady or Tim Tebow can never do no wrong. Like somehow they are all above reproach. Does that make any sense? I can somewhat understand for Tom Brady, but even when he has bad games and manages to squeak out a win because of his defense or special teams, Skip just mostly ignores Brady's poor performance and talks about how Brady somehow wielded his team to a win. But for Tim Tebow, Buddy was in the league for only 3 seasons with the Broncos and Jets and was out of the league by 2013. During that time, Skip Bayless had the cringiest takes talking about how Tim Tebow was more box office than Kobe Bryant, and even once said that between Brady or Tebow at the end of a game, he would actually take the latter. Buddy was literally on an island with these Tim Tebow hot takes. Anyways, going back to Skip Bayless discrediting Cris Carter's Hall of Fame career, it's crazy now to think about all these reports coming out that why no one wants to work with him. More and more people seem to be coming out, calling out Skip Bayless, but in the past, no one dared to mention anything because Skip just had too much power. You would not get invited back on the show, and for most, this was a huge deal for the broadcasting career. Like it or not, Skip has elevated the careers of many people in the sports media industry, partly because he has decided to take the most unpopular takes. That said, it's pretty crazy to see that Skip's treatment of former athletes extended back over a decade ago.